Boy, oh boy, are we evolving now. You know, a lot of people believe that evolving's a good idea. You know, it's making us smarter, it's making us better, is what people think. I don't think people really understand what evolution is. Let's see what AI says. So, generative AI says this about evolution. Evolution is a natural process that causes species to arise, adapt, and become extinct. Yeah, you heard that. It involves changes in inheritable characteristics of biological populations over successive generations. Okay. So, I sit here and I look over my life. And I'm 63 now. I'm headed to 64 in June. And I say to myself, I remember when the first cell phones came out. Actually, I remember even when the first wireless phones hit the houses, to where you had a little like base station thing with an antenna, and you could pick a phone up off of that. It was a charging station at the same time. But you could pick a phone up off of that, and you could walk around the house with this little phone with an antenna on it, and you could talk without a cord being stuck to the wall. Because before that, there was cords stuck to the wall, and you could only go as far as the cord would let you go. I went to a 4th of July gathering that my sister, who's a hippie big time, got me to go to, and was called a rainbow gathering. And I met a gentleman in the early 80s, like 80, I want to say 81, 82, whatever it was, I can't remember. But we were up there and we were discussing some stuff, and smoking a little weed, this, that, and the other thing. And so we're on this mountain camping with a bunch of hippies, rainbow gathering. Kind of want to say that it was in Virginia or West Virginia, I don't know. It was federal land, and it was a mountain. So we're up there and we're talking. Now, I had done a little bit of computer programming, Pascal and RPG2, some assembler language, stuff like that. You all don't know what that is because Gates destroyed it all with HTML, basically. But at any rate, I'd done some programming, and I'm talking to this guy, and this guy worked for the government. And he said, I want to tell you something that is really important. Those telephones that have electronic buttons, don't ever use them in your house. Those phones that you can walk around your house without a cord, don't ever use them in your house. And I said, why? He says, I'm not finished. He says, never ever buy a TV that has a microphone or allows you to answer the phone through the TV. He said there's going to be TVs that are coming out, and they were starting to come out, to where when the phone rang, because we used to have landlines, when the landline rang, the TV would mute, and you could answer the TV as a phone. He said, don't ever get that. Never get that. I was like, why? What's the matter? He says, we are already making ways so that whether that TV is even on or not, we will be able to use the microphone on that TV to listen to conversations inside your house. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And he said, the old phones, like the old rotary or the old push button phones that you hung the phone up on the thing and it had these two little things that came up there on a spring and you hung them up. He said those phones are fine because they have a switch. It's not an electronic switch. They have an actual hard switch that you are switching when you put that thing down. It disconnects the microphone from the wire. So there's no way to turn it back on. You can't turn it on. You would literally have to go into the house and plant a bug or something into the house. And that's not what he's talking about. So I'm listening to this guy, and we discussed things for hours. I mean, we were into philosophy, we were into all kinds of things. And he also told me that they were taking computers, and back in that day, they had not even come up with the dual processor. As far as layman's knew, as far as we knew. He told me they were taking hundreds and they wanted to take thousands of processors and put them together in order to be able to process large amounts of phone conversations and data. And that they thought that this was very important. He said, from the looks to him, they wanted to know what each and every American was saying on the telephone all the time. And I was like, why? And who the hell's going to listen to it all? I mean, I didn't understand it. And he told me, he said, you don't have to listen to it all because you got these processors. And there's a list of words. And these processors are going to be running up and down this list of words just lickety-split while people are talking. And when a word matches up with the processor's database word, they will lock onto that conversation. And they will alert something or somebody to start recording that conversation. Now back then, data storage was a big thing. It was a big thing. That was before the year 2000. And in the year 2000, they were like, oh my God, how are we going to teach a computer that 00 is greater than 99? Because 1999 was 1 year, then it was going to drop to 2000, 20000, and a lot of people only put 2 digits down for the year. And if you had a bunch of data that had 2-digit years, you had to somehow make the computer understand that 00 was greater than 99, and computers don't like that kind of stuff. At any rate, so this guy's telling me this stuff, and I'm, like, wow, it's some pretty intriguing shit. But I have to admit, I was taught some of my language at Data Processing Institute by a computer lunatic who literally took his fingers like this, and him and his friends used to talk in binary code to each other using their fingers. And they had like 4 or 5 of them that used to go and live in a cave for like a month a year. And they would go do all this kind of crazy mind stuff with each other and figure out new things, and this was back when there was fax machines and all kinds of really crazy old stuff, real old stuff. So at any rate, my father designed radar, and he was the most honest, straight arrow person I knew. My father he might not agree with the law, but he if it was a law, he was going to support it, and so whatever. So I told my dad about this. I asked him about it because he was designing radar at the time. I think he was on F-16s or something like that, but he was designing radar with Westinghouse. So I was like, Dad, what's this guy, because I'm always throwing all kinds of different inventions to my father. And I'm like, Dad, this guy's telling me this, that, and the other thing. And, I explained to him all about the supercomputer that they're trying to build and, how they could hear inside your house and listen inside my house. And I said, what do you think about all this? And he said, son, if somebody told you that kind of stuff, I think they ought to be shot for treason. It was at that point I knew it was true. My father would never tell me anything. I grew up with Apple IIc computers in the basement. Boop, boop. Hey, Dad, one of your computers is going off. Okay, come down. Thank you. Beam 300 and ba 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 ba. And he was doing his radars. That was kind of his homework, I guess. I don't know. We didn't know what the hell it was. We were playing ping pong and pool down in the basement, and going out in the boat and smoking pot and stupid stuff. We didn't understand what he was doing. I kept up with a little bit of it, different types of infrared radars and stuff like that. He was on their project and everything, but I don't want to get off topic. The thing that I'm trying to explain to you is this is part of the evolution that we're going through. When I got old enough to where I had my own company and I built bulkheads and did remodeling of houses and things like that, we had beepers. And phones were only something that very few people had. Remote phones were in cars. It was like a suitcase, for God's sake. It was a briefcase full of shit, and the phones were huge, and there was an antenna on the top of your car, and it was just bullshit, and they were expensive as hell. And we had beepers, and you'd be on a job site, your beeper would go up, deet, 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 and a number would come across, and smart people would put, like, if it was real important, 911 in front, or something like that. And we went into that. That was a big thing. And then you're on a job site and you're like, oh shit, I got to take this. I got to go up to 7-Eleven or wherever to the nearest phone booth and call this number to talk to this person that's beeping me. And the beeper basically had a phone number, but it didn't do conversation. It only did like text. But it was very little text. You couldn't send a message. And then after that, we had cell phones. They charged you about a minute, and they robbed you. And then Boost came out with that DD shit, where it was like a walkie-talkie. But you had a list of different people. And you could pick which one you wanted to bid it. Hey, Al, what's going on, brother? And then you wait. And if he heard it, he grabs his phone. Yeah, Keith, what do you want? What's going on? And you could communicate, but only one person could talk at a time, and back and forth, kind of like a walkie-talkie. I thought they were great. They don't have them no more. They replaced that shit with texting. And I guess that's because people didn't want to hear that stuff. Me and Al, I'll do a segment on Boost Mobile and what Al and I did with it, because we had a lot of fun messing around with that to each other, But now we've got our phones. Can't live without. Data is the huge thing that we're giving away. We're giving away all the information on ourselves. And who are we giving it to? Corporate America. And who runs this place? Corporate America runs this whole damn place. And I'm not even positive it's corporate America anymore. Could very well be some world ass corporate shit because of all these people that we've got going on. Now they're trying to control our food. Now they're trying to tell us that they are a better steward on our food than our farmers, because our farmers use so much land, our farmers use so much water. It's inhumane to kill a cow. We're tilling the land to make vegetables, and that's not necessary. And so why are we using up all this land? Why are we using up all these resources? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? They want control. They want control of all our shit. And if we allow these people to start making food in a lab, and they get to the point to where they can make the food cheaper than a farmer can raise a cow, and we buy it, we're done. We're done. They will control the population. They will control who buys and sells. They will control it all. Because once we give them the food, all they have to do is say, can't really allow you to shoot wild game anymore. Everything's protected. Robin Hood used to shoot the king's deer. And